Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Eat, Drink, and Be Merry show, where we love to talk about food, drink, recipes, and techniques, and where to shop, taste, and play. Let's go. Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Big Daily Blend podcast and our Eat, Drink, Be Merry show, because today is French Bread Day. It is March 21st, 2024, and apparently every March 21st we must celebrate with French bread. And, we look at all the holidays for our Big Daily Blend show. And when Chef Ivan Flowers comes on the show, we're always now, okay, what's going on this month? What kind of food thing? And we sent over a few ideas to him and his wife, Tracy. And Nancy and I placed bets. What was he going to pick? And of course, he picked the French bread. So welcome back, Ivan. How are you?
I'm very good. Good to be with you.
Well, listen, happy French Bread Day. It's a
Thank
good
you.
days. Hey, listen,
Yes.
It is also Women's History Day, month, excuse
Yes.
me. And we actually have a brand new Women Making History podcast now. It all started just,
Oh, nice.
we just, March 1st. Yeah, it started over a glass of wine on March 1st. The sun
As
came
many
out.
good things do.
I know it's true. We didn't have French bread, but Nancy and I, the sun was out. We were defrosting after all the winter stuff we'd gone through.
Yeah.
And Nancy and I sat outside with a glass of wine and we're like, we were talking about all these women's shows. Like you were talking about Julia Child last time, remember? We were talking about
Yes.
all of that. And we're like, well, we should do this podcast at this. And Nancy just says, we need to do a magazine. And I'm like, well, we've got 7 days. That's not happening to pull all our archives. Then we're like, well, let's do we could do a podcast. So that night we started a podcast and it's been daily ever since. It's kind of crazy.
Nice.
But I wanted to ask you, I know last time we talked about Betty Crocker, we talked about Julia Child, is there, you got Tracy, lovely Tracy, but
Yes.
any shout outs to the women in your life since it's Women's History Month before we talk about
Yeah.
French bread?
I'd like to give a shout out actually to Temecula Valley High School, my principal, Donna Leone. I've had a few principals in my career up there, and she's one of the great ones. She just cares about students and cares about teachers, cares about the program, and is just she's wonderful at what she does and puts a lot of time and a lot of effort, which as a teacher, that's greatly appreciated.
And I need to backtrack here, everyone. Ivan's been on the show since we started. Literally, I'm not kidding. So over 17 years, and we're all 21. Yeah. But Chef Ivan Flowers, he's a 5-star chef. I mean, he's run restaurants around the country and even on airplanes. Seriously, that's a whole other story. We need to do that one day. We need to talk about airplane food. But also now Ivan is a culinary instructor in Temecula at a high school in Temecula, California. And I think, and you've been there for, wow, like how many years now?
Yeah.
Quite a while.
6, going on 6.
6 years? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's pretty amazing when you think about schools holding on to programs like culinary arts, because I remember when I was in high school, you went to home economics. It was like the girly thing to do.
Right.
All the girls did that. You learned how to
Right.
sew. And when I did that, I sewed my pants closed, which Nancy thought was great. But it was like, kind of like, that's what the women did. The guys went to shop and that's that. Has it changed now? Because a lot of programs get kicked out of schools. So I think it's great it's there.
Yeah. CTE, 21st century CTE, we wake them up. It's not only about cooking. It's not only about hotel tourism and recreation and everything that you can do, from serving to cooking to being, an executive chef, a chef de cuisine. We teach resume writing. We teach filling out business applications, job interviewing. We teach skills that you're going to really use in the real world. How to dress, how to speak in a job interview, using keywords to get the job that you want, doing the research, POS systems, budgeting,
everyone,
inventory.
The POS system is the Posy touch. Everybody wants to learn how to push that button. And if you go to a bar, that's what gives you like the tab.
Yeah, the POS systems nowadays do everything but walk the dog for you.
And they do the inventory too, right? It's
Yes,
everything. It's
all
like
of it. All of it.
wow, wow.
All of it.
Wow, wow.
All of it.
So I didn't know it went that far into this, the education side. So you're teaching cooking, you're teaching the hospitality, the business side. So, and then at the same time, teaching kids how to cook, which I think is something really important for good health and nutrition and for being
Big
economical
time.
when you're going to college. The pizza starts to happen because every college gets, the 2-for-1 special, not necessarily
Right.
the healthiest thing.
No,
Um,
no.
so
But
this
we
is
turn that
this,
around and we say when a chicken is 89 cents a pound and you can buy a roaster, a 5 or 6 pound chicken, you can have literally enough meals for the week. So we teach them how to fabricate. And then from that, how to get broths, how to get stocks, chicken salad, chicken sautés. When
mm,
you're living with roommates and there's not a lot of money at the end of the month, loss leaders, which is what
mm,
Tracy does all the time, how you can now shop and fight, you fight inflation and also, I hate to say, corporate greed. And you can
hmm
walk out of the supermarket with literally double what you
mm,
thought you would have, paid for
mm,
is half because you're doing things
mm,
correctly. Takes a little work, but it's worth it.
mm. I love this. I want to ask you and number one also say it's your birthday today that we're recording. So happy
Hmm.
birthday, Chef Ivan. Um,
Thank you.
Going back to when you were a kid, did you get this kind of education and if not, do you wish you had it? Or like, when you think about you in the age group of the students, the high school students you're teaching now, and you think about where you were, what were the systems like then? Not that you're
It was
ancient or anything. I'm not
it was
saying that.
it was kind of home economics. I learned how to
Yeah.
sew. And I remember they
Okay.
told me how to sew a button onto a shirt. And I thought, how ridiculous this is until you need to sew a button on a shirt. And then, whoa, I know how to do this. I know how to thread a needle. I mean, they taught us typing back then, which gave us speed and gave us confidence. You
Oh,
know,
that's smart.
the,
So those things are
yeah,
are important and okay. So let's go to sewing. Learning how to thread a needle and how to sew a button. Did that help you in culinary life in regards to stitching things? Because sometimes you have to use string and stuff and sew stuff
oh,
up in,
absolutely.
in meals.
Yeah. When you're trussing chickens and you're trussing proteins and you're barding and you're larding, it's all the same extension of what you learned when you were a kid.
Mm. Wow, this is cool. This is cool. I
Eye-hand
love what you're doing.
coordination.
Hmm.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We always have fun with you on the show, but we always learn. And French bread, Nancy and I both won, so now we can't even, bet against each other until next month when you come back on
Yeah.
with whatever other holidays there are. But when we look at French bread, then there's this thing about is it a French bread loaf or a baguette? Can we just get to the point of what is French bread? Because there's Italian loaf that can look similar to a French loaf.
Hmm.
So, like if you go to a grocery store, you'll see these, you know, big fat loaves. Not the ones that are
Hmm.
sliced bread and
Hmm.
mass manufactured. There's
Hmm.
artisan bread, which is like a big fat ovally one.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what makes it a French loaf versus a baguette versus the Italians coming in and saying, we got bread too? Because,
True French bread is thin, crusty, and fluffy in the middle, and it has no fat and it has no sugar,
okay.
which is actually rather healthy. What you do have to check when you read the label is salt. Some of them are saltier than others. Others have
Yeah.
very low salt. It's one of the reasons why the French are so fit with the French
Mm,
paradox, the baguette in the basket with the cheese and the wine, bicycling home, walking. It's a very, very healthy, but they're thin, crispy, crunchy, fluffy. And the true baguettes that you buy in boulangeries are remarkable. They're just remarkable. I like to use them a lot of times for bruschetta and scarpetta. So
mm,
scarpetta, let's say you order a big thing of mussels and a garlic thyme Chardonnay broth. And then you have the
yeah.
broth left over and you run that bread through that beautiful, beautiful sauce. That's a scarpetta. With French bread, it just makes it remarkable.
I'm getting hungry because as soon as I knew you were coming on and you've got a great recipe, everyone, the link is in the show notes. You have a wonderful recipe for warm red pepper and mozzarella
Hmm.
crostini. Ooh. And
Yes,
I was looking at this and I'm like, okay, this is like danger zone to me. I do want to get
yes.
some wine with it. But then like as soon as I hear French bread, like I'm already drooling. It's kind of disgusting.
Hmm.
Can't help it. But like I want like the garlic toast. Now garlic toast, you could do garlic toast with French bread, right?
Oh, sure,
Just
of course.
little ones. And I'm now craving provolone soup. I told Nancy I want provolone soup, not provolone, French onion
French
soup,
onion soup with a
provolone
Gruyere. Yes,
cheese. Oh,
and
Gruyere,
they
is
put
that
the
better than
baguettes
provolone?
in. They use
Oh,
Gruyere, and then they use the caramelized onions with the stock, and then they'll put the
oh,
crostini from the baguette in the soup. They'll cover it in the crock with Gruyere, and then they'll bake it in the oven until it starts to caramelize on top. Oh,
oh my God. Like seriously, is that not some of the best of the best of the best food
oh,
ever?
it's the existence of God, according to the French.
I think I mean, don't they put like red wine in there too? Like they can, or it's
Oh
got
yeah,
like
oh
a
yeah.
beef base, right? So it's a red
Yes,
meat
and use
base.
yes red wine. Yeah, but you can do it with veggie stock. You don't have to use a
Yeah, you
veal
can
or a
be
beef stock at all.
vegetarian.
Of
Yeah, and you
course,
could use
of
vegan cheese
course.
if you're vegan. And so,
Yes.
oh, is French bread vegan? Like I know sourdough is vegan. The French bread, it's not, it's
French
maybe,
bread vegan.
oh no, it's got egg in it. It's got egg,
It is.
right? It's got,
It is vegan. Nope, it's
oh,
vegan.
oh, wow. Okay. Well, there you go,
Yes.
people. That's really cool. Well, this is, except for the cheese, which you could get, and the mayo, you could get vegan, but the red
Hmm.
pepper, there's something about like a red pepper sauce,
Hmm.
especially if they're roasted. Do you ever roast them and then mush them up
Oh, all
like
the
red
time.
bell peppers?
Oh, all the time. If you're going to roast your own peppers, you char them till they're black. You put them in a bowl. You cover them with plastic for about 10 minutes, and then with a paper towel, you just take off the char, and you have a beautiful roasted pepper. You can also, for this dish, if you use in the can roasted, you want to make sure you put them between paper towels and dry them really
Mm.
well and compress all the excess liquid out so it doesn't affect the dish. This
Mm.
goes on a bruschetta crostini, or you can use this as a dip and then just have warm toasted French bread on the side. You could do it either way.
Okay. So yeah, so the dip is the warm red pepper is like this dip. So this is okay, wait. What is the crostini, the baguette? Like what is yeah, and what is the
All a
difference?
crostini is, you take the baguette and you cut it into slices.
So the
Then it
baguette
becomes
is
a
the actual
crostini.
loaf. The baguette is
The
the bread.
baguette is the loaf. Yes. Now you can go straight across it and have a smaller cut, or you can go in a 45-degree angle, which
Oh,
is
we
what
want
we
that.
did.
Yeah.
And you want a longer baguette so you can put more
Hmm.
topping on it.
Yeah, and you can have two bites instead of try to figure out how to do half of one. So it's
Hmm.
politer when you're eating and you have wine. If you have wine, now, oh,
Yes.
this is going to go nicely with some. Oh, gosh, you could do all kind. You could even. I almost feel like the wine has to have a kick to it, like a dry rosé would go, like
Yeah.
like a Grenache or something, like a little.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
needs a little spice to this wine, whatever wine you
Sure.
have. A white
Yeah.
wine. Okay,
You can
I'm
do
always.
white, you can do red, you can do rosé, you can do champagne, you can do a
Ooh.
really nice beer. A Hefeweizen would go really well with this.
Oh, that does sound really good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this
You
is
can do
really
a
a dangerous show.
martini.
You can do whatever you want. We're adults, and you could
Yeah,
have olives on the
sure.
side. Yeah, yeah. You
Oh,
can have,
yeah.
oh, see, this
Yeah.
is the thing. It's
Yeah.
about nibbles. I feel like
Nibbles.
sometimes we get into these like, let's have the big roast, where I like a lot of little food because you can sit and talk.
Absolutely.
However, you do tend to forget how much of the nibbles you're eating if you're having a good time.
Well, it's called a
But
nosh, you know. Is there
I,
anything better than a nosh?
no.
Huh?
Well, there's a couple of things that can be really
There's
good in
a few
life,
things. Yeah.
but they go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like one's a before and
Yeah.
one's an after, or
Yes.
both. You could be
Yes.
like, what's his name? George from Seinfeld.
Yes. So I was just thinking that when he was eating the corned beef sandwich when he was having sex. Yes.
Hey, listen. Hey, this is perfect. We are recording this on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, there's no way this will ever just be a normal, plain and dry cooking show
No,
here. No, but
no.
okay, so everyone, you've got your French bread baguette. Cut 6 slices on the bias. So that's
Yes.
going to be your diagonals. Then you've got your
Hmm.
large red pepper. You're going to roast and dice it. You've got dry Italian herbs. Now, if you've got some fresh ones from the garden or your kitchen garden, is that okay, or is
Sure.
it better to be
Of
dry?
course.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Let me go through the ingredients, but I want to go back to the herbs. You've got grated Parmesan cheese. So that's not the stuff that comes out of the plastic container, like the
No, you
shaken.
take a wedge and you do it fresh.
Okay. And then a cup of shredded mozzarella. Do you
Hmm.
think this fat-free cheese thing is why? How? How are they making cheese fat-free? I don't understand
Uh,
this.
they do, but the meltability factor on it sometimes doesn't work. You can use a lower fat cheese, but some of the, fake
Oh, they're
cheeses and
using.
stuff kind of don't melt very well.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And then you have a third cup of mayo, salt, and pepper to taste. So really, the dressing for the baguette slices is the red pepper, the mayo, the Parmesan, mozzarella, and herbs. So then you're just spreading it on the baguette and baking it, right?
Right. And we use an avocado. We use healthy mayo. And yeah, you want to toast the
Ooh.
baguette ahead of time at a 400-degree oven to get it lightly toasted, not a lot. You want to put it on, go back into a 400-degree oven for about 5 to 8 minutes. So when you eat it, you don't want the toast, the crostini, the baguette to be hard. You want it to be just set enough that it's lightly crispy, but it's kind of fluffy and a little soft.
Mhm.
That
Okay.
eats so much better than, oh my God, this crostini almost broke my tooth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've done that by accident on things
Yes,
a lot, a
yes.
lot. And then I think, okay, we can get around it. And then yeah, I've been creative in things, like I have messed up toast and stuff, but then I turn it into French toast. Like I'll take
Hmm.
eggs and whip them up. And if I have like hard, like almost you could make them croutons, but sometimes you have to, how do you moisten? Oh, I said the word, um, hard bread. I mean, at that point, you just toss
What,
it. I mean, you can
what,
do microwave or,
well, like if it's not too hard, you can make French toast out of baguettes. It's fabulous.
mm-hmm,
You just want to make sure you
yummy.
put it in the mixture and kind of let it sit a little bit. You can make croutons out of French bread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once bread gets stale and too hard, it's basically breadcrumbs at that point. You don't want to throw it out. You want to use it. But,
Yeah.
bread is in and of itself an entire art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we first got to this country, I worked in a deli and I had a very, like this, and it was all New Yorkers coming at me, and I'm like, I don't even know how to make change. All your money looks the same. I mean, this was
Right.
cash based back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And I really didn't know what was going on. I thought bagels were donuts. I was so stupid. I mean, come on,
Oh,
But anyway, well, and I learned
you've
about
come a long way.
pastrami. I have
Yes.
really learned, but every day, whatever bread, because everything was baked there. Even the bagels were done. I mean, it was like a hands-on. I mean, I really learned, and I learned from the ground up, mopping floors to all of it, right?
Sure. Of course. Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And that's I learned the art of crouton making. It became a thing
Hmm.
for me to make croutons, and we did it even using the day-old bagels. Whoever didn't take them home from the restaurant, right? Because the
Yeah.
perks of working in a restaurant is you always go home with food. Um,
Yeah.
but some employees went off with a leg of ham and they didn't last very long, but they did.
They
They
didn't
didn't
last.
have the posse touch system at that, just back in those days.
Yeah.
But um, honestly, we used whatever bread because it was like even if it was toasted, it still had to be freshly baked that day. It was like the rule of the house.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
have to,
good.
you do not use yesterday's bread on your customers coming for a pastrami on
No,
rye, even if it's being,
no.
I mean, it's a hot sandwich. No, they'll know. So it all became, we did in-house croutons and it was amazing to
Hmm.
have like, oh, would you like rye croutons? Would you like pumpernickel rye croutons? Which I mean, we had croutons and it changed the salad from typical croutons to what seasoning you did, and certain croutons went for certain salads. I mean, it was actually quite interesting how they did that.
Well, remember too, with older bread, bagels, baguettes, you can make bread pudding,
Oh
which
yeah.
can be either sweet or savory. Also, remember you can do what they call in Italian a panzanella salad. Tracy makes incredible panzanella salads where she'll roast tomatoes, confit tomatoes, and then use that roasted herb garlic oil and moisten the harder bread and then mix it with arugula and tomatoes and oh my God, and that moistens it
Wow.
just enough that when you eat that panzanella salad, it's to die for.
Oh wow. Wow. Now you said moist twice now. You did
Yes,
it.
I
Now we've
know,
done it
I
three
know.
times. We've done good. We've done good today. All right. So you know what I did the other day? Okay, so we got, those little potatoes. I have a thing about little potatoes. They're nice. You
Yeah.
can clean them nice. You can keep the skins, all of that. And we had a bunch of mushrooms. We had these potatoes, red onions,
Mm,
and there were some cherry tomatoes that were ready to say goodbye, but they weren't bad. So I'm looking at
hmm.
these. I'm like, you know what? We're doing this. So because of those little potatoes, like the little red ones and, little finger, you can, whatever, those little ones, they
Yeah,
cook really quickly. So
yeah. They're
I
called
took some.
peewees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
little baby. Yeah, yeah. So,
yeah.
I always tend to, as we travel the country, we pet sit and I don't want to make any messes in anyone's house. But this did smell a little garlicky by the time I was done. Um,
Yeah.
I got into the herbs. Oh, I chopped these all up. The mushrooms pretty much stayed whole, so they were almost like stuffed in a way, but not quite. Like you just don't mince them, You want them to
Hmm.
still have texture and be who they are.
Hmm.
I think I had some
Integrity. Yeah.
yeah, some bell peppers, and don't mince the garlic in this. You gotta, you can cube it or whatever. You can mash it, but there's something about like you just want this roasted clove of garlic. But if
Oh
it's
yeah.
not opened up in some way, it doesn't do it right. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like you have to cut the ends off so that the
Hmm.
oils and stuff can get in there. And so
Hmm.
the potatoes, the onion, the garlic, some bell peppers, they were baby sweet little bell peppers. And I just took at the end, I took and I roasted these with herbs, all these different herbs and spices and turmeric and chili
Mm.
and all of that, right?
Mm.
And I put and the mushrooms you just cut in half, like boom, right? So they can become like remember you did those Zinfandel steak mushrooms? Like that, kind
Hmm.
of
The
big.
steakhouse mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I took these cherry tomatoes. I'm like, I don't want to throw them away because they're a little older, they were a little wrinkly. I didn't think we were going to die over this. I'm like, they're fridge dried. You know what I mean?
Right.
They weren't sun dried. So I sliced them in half. They were all squirty everywhere. I'm going to tell you, they became like candy amongst
Hmm.
the garlic, amongst the onion,
Hmm.
and I can taste it now. All I can tell you is I smelled like a walking garlic stick, but
But that's good. You can never have enough garlic.
I'm telling you, man, there's something about it. It is, I feel like I'm eating the bowl of health, even though there's potatoes, but if you get the right potatoes, there's
Hmm.
nutrition and potassium
Hmm.
and all of that.
Hmm.
But those tomatoes, just, those little cherry tomatoes you think you're putting on your salad and you don't do it, use them because they turn
Hmm.
into like nature's candy in all kinds of roasting. It's my new thing, taking
Well,
those.
a very famous um, tapas bruschetta. They do it a lot in Spain. They'll make the crostini. They'll toast it. They'll take mashed potatoes and they'll
Mm,
spread it on the crostini. Then they will take garlic, that whole cloves that they simmer in oil. It's called confit. So they
mm-hmm.
simmer it till the garlic gets soft,
Oh,
and that makes the garlic
oh.
sweet, not so strong. They'll take
Mm,
it out and they'll put that over the mashed potato, and then they'll do what they call a tomato conserva, which is what you did,
Hmm.
and
Ooh.
spread that on top and then sprinkle a little Parmesan. It's to die for.
Oh my God. But if you bake it on top, so it has like a crust on
Hmm.
top.
Yeah, of
Oh,
course. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Now, have you had uh like flouted, like rolled tacos, potato
Oh, yeah.
tacos? They do that in
Oh,
Yuma,
yeah.
the
Oh,
Sonoran
yeah.
Mexican, and with and you've got to have it with like, it's got to have some spice and
Taquitos.
kick, and you
Yeah.
yeah, and you put taquitos with cabbage. They do it with
Yes.
cabbage,
Sure.
and
Of course.
oh,
Yeah.
because there's something
Oh,
about the
yeah.
cabbage having a kick against the potato inside
Oh,
the
yeah.
taquitos.
Very
It's
good.
mm.
Very good.
Okay. So what about Melba toast? Because isn't that kind of like
Melba.
more you what the I mean it's like and then what
Oh,
what
I don't. Melba toast
uh-oh.
is some kind of, well, when I was a little boy, it was pre-toasted. It came in cellophane.
It still does. I saw it in the grocery
That
store.
still does, but make fresh, it's like, who knows? And yeah, you like it. Oh,
No,
my face is going, she loves it.
if she does, she likes Melba toast.
Yeah,
I heard about
she
was
loves
in
Melba toast.
England. It was in England, I think I first heard about Melba toast, but it's always like
Melba.
it's like someone made a little bread, like a miniature little square thing. And it's
Hmm.
like perfectly square. Is it for high tea? Oh, Nancy
You can
says it's
use
for
it.
babies.
The babies. I used to dunk it in coffee.
Oh, it's like now in South Africa we have what's called rusks,
Yeah.
Rusk, Oma Biscakis. So they would
Mm.
take a bread, talk about dry bread, and oh man, you would dig this. You would dig this. So you picture a loaf bread, like a loaf pan, like if you're making banana bread, okay?
Hmm.
And it's kind of a whitish, you can use whole wheat, but it's like it's got the big holes in it. So it's airy, right? And they would mix the dough with marmalade. So the little bit of
Wow.
marmalade goes in, but you have a little bit of that zest and that rind, right? But it would be Oma's marmalada biscakis. Biscakis is like
Mm.
biscuits. And so the way they would make it, it's, you can see those kind of like how buns come all stuck together. So
Hmm.
it's like a loaf that they probably pre-cut before they bake it because like you'll get a loaf and maybe 8 to 10 long like chunks come off of it. It's like if you're making it into like if you took a loaf and you cut it into eighths. So you're
Hmm.
getting from the bottom to the top.
Right.
And so like they're cylinder things. Like biscotti. There it is. Hello.
Ah.
But it's like it's a rough version of biscotti. It's not fancy. Um, it is like this is like a dry bread. It's like when someone had dry bread, they just broke off a piece, and that's what people dunk in their coffee in South Africa or their tea.
Hmm.
Oh, and no matter what, you'd have bitsies at the bottom, and
Hmm.
sometimes you can do it. But if you had a rough night before, you couldn't do it the next morning.
No,
You could,
no,
there's no
too much
bitsies
work.
happening. No, no, it'd make you feel a little weird. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting what you can do with bread. And I wonder if like French bread, because of that, the airiness you were saying in there, it was kind of like that,
Mm.
yet it was still
Mm.
thick. So yeah, man, it's good. That stuff is
I still
good.
remember the first baguette I had the first time I went to Paris. It was like my first croissant. I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God. But I went to a shop that was for generations were making croissant and baguettes for generations. This is all they did. And it was just like, oh my God.
Mm. We had a travel writer, Debbie Stone. She went to Paris and did a croissant making class. And
Mm.
she's like, you will not know how much goes into a croissant.
Oh, oh
She
God.
says it's like this layering and kneading and
Oh,
layering
and butter and
but
folding
and more
and
but yeah,
sheeting
yeah,
and
that's it.
resting. Oh my God. So much work goes in. And when you're eating it, you think you're eating a cloud, but in
Yeah.
reality, you're eating a lot of butter.
Oh, but that's okay. That's all right
That's
with me. But
okay. Hey,
listen, there
they
is
live a long
something
time.
okay, now with a French loaf, have you just gotten it fresh out of the bakery while it's
Hmm.
still warm and put just real butter on it? Just
Yeah, that's all you need. Or cheese. That's it.
Oh,
Bread and cheese.
cheese
You don't need
always.
any. My last meal in prison would be a French baguette, a good cup of coffee, and either a Taleggio or a triple cream brie or a truffle triple cream brie. That's it. That's it.
What's the
That's all I
Taleggio?
want.
Let's go back to
Taleggio is it's a blue vein Italian cheese that's aged. It's like a blue and brie had a baby on steroids, and it's creamy and it's pungent and it just
we need to have a
I can't
cheese
even.
class. We need to talk
Yes,
cheese. We need to do a
yes.
cheese show. We do. I know there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a cheese day somewhere, and we're going to find
Oh,
it,
jeez.
and we're going to do it. We're going to do cheese all day long. Well,
Right.
cheese,
And I'm
it's
not a
very regional
snob.
too. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I
Me
like
either.
American cheese. You know what? I like a piece of Velveeta. I'm not sitting there going, "Oh my God, this American cheese." I like it.
Listen, if you don't have that kind of thing on fast food, then you didn't eat fast food. If you're going to eat
Exactly.
fast food, you need to either you go all in or don't do it at all. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't this thing where fast food was trying to get healthy. Like I think the wrappings and stuff like could be more ecologically friendly if possible.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
better.
I agree.
And
I
and
agree.
different states are weird about it. But if you're going for fast food, you can have healthier fast food. But once in a while, you guys are in San Diego, like Angelo's Burgers. I always talk about them. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
gone to Angelo's yet, but there's something
Yeah.
about and I haven't done it for a few years, so I don't know if they're still as good, but there was something about Angelo's Burgers, big, greasy Angelo's.
Yeah.
It was the meat grease, right? It wasn't like, this is sometimes you want the grease. Greasy Angelo burgers, and I even ate the
Yeah.
tomatoes on it. I'm not a big raw tomato person, but I did. And you have onion rings. Onion rings are good. They're
Yeah.
good. They're
Yeah.
good for you.
Especially when they
Um,
make them with the Maui onions. Yeah.
oh, okay. I wanted to ask you about herbs. Um, so when you're talking about dry herbs, right? And you said, okay, well, you can
Yeah.
use fresh. Is now there's a
Mm-hmm.
difference, right, of when and
Mm-hmm.
how. And herbs, like basil, as we
Mm-hmm.
say, basil, goes to seed, and then your basil dies off, and people freeze them. Some people try to dry it. Like, what do we do with because these some of these herbs can go crazy. Rosemary can stay even through winter half the
Mm-hmm.
time, and
Mm-hmm.
rosemary is fantastic. But when should you have dry versus fresh herbs? I was going to say
Well,
moist herbs. When do you have
dry
dry?
dry herbs you want to put in the beginning because they slowly will bring out the flavor. Fresh herbs you want to put at the end because if they take too much heat, they're going to lose their pungency. They're also going to turn dark. If you have a lot of fresh herbs, you can turn them upside down and hang them, and you can dry them out and put them in a coffee grinder. Another thing you
Okay.
can do with fresh herbs is you can make maitre d' butter. So you soften your
Oh,
butter, you chop up your herbs, you put it in the butter, and you put the butter in little, thin, not deep muffin pans. And once they freeze, you pop them out, you wrap them in plastic wrap, and you put them in the freezer. And you have a herb butter that you can use anytime you need when you're making a sauce, when you're adding it to pasta, when you're doing a glaze, and they can stay for a very long time.
okay. So a lot of people leave their butter out because I think a
Yeah.
lot of because people went to margarine because it was easier to spread on your toast. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what happened.
The trans
I
fat.
don't,
Yeah.
and then at one point it was supposed to be healthier, which I cannot believe it's not butter,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
What was that? Fabio? Was that him?
Yes. Yes. That's
Um,
Fabio.
I cannot believe it's not butter. Yeah, well, so you have all that happening. So people started going, oh, we want it nice and soft. So here comes the fast foody kind of thing, right? Oh, here to the
Right.
rescue. Then when you actually read what you're eating out of margarine, and we're guilty of it too, just the way we travel at times. And now I'm going, this is really dumb. But then some people keep their butter in the fridge. Some people leave it out. Like, how do you butter your toast if your butter is in your fridge? See,
You have to
even your
take it
dog
out of the fridge
agrees.
and let it soften a little bit. You pull it out, you let it soften, but butter needs to be in the fridge. You don't want to leave butter or eggs out. A lot of people do. You shouldn't.
Okay. Okay, that's a
I
good point.
can't believe it's not butter all the time. When I do my egg white omelet in the morning, I do a spray of, I can't believe it's not butter, and a little fresh grated Parmesan and a touch of low sodium salt, and I'm happy.
Now, do you say that when you're cooking it? I cannot believe this is not butter. It's
Yes,
my only accent to
I
it.
do.
You
I do.
have to say it. You have to. No, okay. So, I mean, there's a balance too. I mean, we can't be purists because like that's
Everything in
boring with food.
moderation.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with this. Okay, so, but there is something about a good dip. Um, Olive oil and French bread, like for tasting
Oh,
French bread, like
oh,
the olive
oh,
oils, you, yeah.
olive oil with a little balsamic, fresh
Oh,
grated parm on a plate with a warm French baguette. You do the scarpetta. Oh my God, that's it.
yeah. Now, if you go wine tasting in Temecula, there's a lot of olive oil tasting too in your area.
Yes, yes, a
And
lot of
there's
wineries and a lot of olive oil.
it's amazing to me what they're doing with olive oils now. Like you can
Yeah,
change a dish according to the olive oil.
yes,
It's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, this has got a little lemon to it, so you might want to use it
yes.
with chicken, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, you're also helping a farmer, and it's not mass
Yes,
produced as much. So that's kind of a cool
right.
thing too. But I love this. I love this. So everybody, it is French bread day. So let's all make some if you want, right? That's not hard to make your own French bread,
It's
or it
hard to
is.
make French bread. Yes, you
Okay,
need the
then,
correct
yeah.
racks. It's making French bread is not easy. It's a process.
Oh,
Go to a good bakery.
okay.
Otherwise,
Okay,
you're going to become very crazy.
this is the first time I've ever heard you on this show say just go buy it. Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Nancy's sitting there in the background going, "Yep, go
Go
buy
buy
it."
it.
And if you
Go
don't
buy it.
eat it, then the first day, that's why there's such a thing as French toast and bread pudding and croutons. So,
Yes.
and also using it for soup. I mean, croutons are not
Oh
just
yeah.
for salad. Croutons and breadcrumbs too, having your own breadcrumbs. I don't know if breadcrumbs are breadcrumbs anymore coming out of, I don't know.
Who knows?
Like we
Who
actually
knows? That's why
buy
you got to read
breadcrumbs.
labels. Yeah, you got to read
Yeah.
labels. I
Wow.
start next week, 2 week seminar of nutrition with my classes, and I'm very, very into what are you eating? Read it. How many servings? So it's got, cereal will say, all the sugared cereals based
Ooh.
on this. It's a quarter of a cup. Who eats a quarter of a cup of cereal? Most people eat 6 to 7 times that in a bowl. So you really have to be aware of what you're eating, read what you're putting in your body, take a look at the fat, take a look at the salt, take a look at the sugar. You have to have protein, you have to have carbs, and you have to have correct healthy fats. And you can live a
Wow.
very, very healthy, good life and never feel deprived.
I like this. I like this. Yeah, nutrition is a big one. I think that has to
Yes.
be a focus soon too, because you know what? We're getting into spring and it's time to, undo those winter habits because they creep in.
Well, when I
Comfort
see a
food.
student with
Yeah.
a bag of Takis, and they eat the whole bag through the day, they're eating thousands of milligrams of salt,
What's
tons
that?
of fat, and then Takis it's like a rolled chip, and then they're washing it down with the Monster Rockstar
Ooh.
that is 75 grams of sugar. And then when you look it up, it says, we don't know how much taurine is in here. We don't record it. Well, what
What?
the hell is guarine? What is taurine?
Taurine. Taurine is
Yeah,
something that vegans don't eat, number one.
yeah,
Taurine is like
yeah.
almost like gelatin, like from horse hoof, and it's like it's part
Hmm.
of taurine and casein is part of cheese. Even it's an animal byproduct.
Right,
But
right,
some of it you don't really want in certain things. It's like it's in
right,
all cat food and dog food, and that's why a lot of our
right,
animals are not doing well.
right, right. And then top it off with a good puff of cotton candy vape where you just smoke 10
What?
cigarettes worth of nicotine for dessert. So we get to these we get to these young people and shake their brains up a little bit and go, wait a second, you keep on this track, good luck.
Well, you know what I think is the key part of what you're doing is you're showing them how to do it, and they're actually physically doing something, which is
Hmm.
empowerment, which means,
Yes.
they have some pride over of something that they created.
Yep.
And that means that they come up with the positive change. If we tell
Hmm.
people to change, I mean, if you tell me to not have my glass of wine,
Hmm.
that's not it. No, it's not going to work.
No.
And it
No.
actually, no one can. No, I can't even tell myself that. I need my glass of wine
No.
at the end of the day. Even
Yeah.
Dr.
Yeah.
Jackie
Yeah.
says we're allowed to have it because it's. But if you're going to have 10 bottles, now everyone's going to
That's a different story.
take you somewhere somewhere to go get cleaned out. But that's the thing. These kind of programs, I'm so glad we talked about the educational component at the start of the show today, because I mean that's
Hmm. Of
all we do. It's why we are doing what we do at the Big Blend
course.
here. Is it's education. We want to have fun and say naughty things we're not supposed to, but the reality is, to make change, it has to almost be someone's idea, and it has to have an action step component to it. And
Hmm.
that's, I feel, the only way sometimes, but we're so fast in society, and these programs for kids, programs for adults. I mean, there's a lot of,
Hmm.
like, we did a show on Asheville, North Carolina, and there's a couple who are big into cooking and traveled the world, and they created the cooking cottage. And people come in, and people will go on vacation and take cooking classes on vacation as a couples thing or as a date night thing. And I think, that's really fun. They meet other couples and other friends, family. It doesn't have to be just, romantic, but it's like these other steps of getting out of the mold of eating the same thing or buying stuff that is already pre-made, or like, here's your kit. Like, really? You had to learn how to make a salad? Like, here's a recipe, and you can even have your ingredients delivered. Now, you don't have to go to the market if you don't want to, but we're having all these boxed dinners come to your door. And I mean, if you need to do that once or twice a week, okay. But like, where are we going to draw the line of not actually having any experience ourselves? When we're in the height of AI, right? They're talking about using third, what's that, 3D printing to make burgers and stuff. I'm starting to kind of freak out on one side of life about what we're going to. I know the manufacturing world is where we started getting mass produced food, which isn't all
Of course.
negative because it was about costs, and yeah, I get it. I get it. But there's this level of learning a craft. No, we do not need to be five-star chefs like Ivan, but to be able, if you are known for one cake or one cookie, it's always like, oh, Nancy knows how to make the best rum balls ever. Go figure. She really has a good time making them too, but she's
Right.
known for it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's something that she's mastered a skill at in a very happy way. But isn't that like something for all of us to remember those roots of doing? Because when we do not do or take action and have experience, man, we get lost in the shuffle, and that's when disease hits. That's when just life sucks.
Once you give up control to a corporation to mass produce your food, they're going to use every chemical, every preservative, everything they can to give that food more shelf life. They're going to put more salt in it for flavor, and they're not going to care except for one thing, and that's the bottom line of profitability.
Mm.
And that's where we're at. Fast food companies, you can buy a burger cheaper than you can buy an apple. Fast food companies have stopped caring about people's health decades ago. And so we're the fattest, sickest country on the planet.
And and this is another huge, shout. Please tell your school, your principal, hello from us and thank you, because and we've done shows on this. Years ago, we did like going into college and all of these kinds of shows, and we'll do more now that I'm thinking we need to. They target the younger generation.
Of course.
Advertising targets, and especially now that kids have phones and social media, they are targeted for this kind of food, and even like all the swag that comes from eating from different food companies. It started with the Lucky Charm crap in our cereal.
Oh, God. Oh, my
Isn't
goodness.
it? Wasn't that a big marketing ploy?
Yeah, they're magically delicious. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
It
you
starts
can
with
collect the
baby food,
stickers.
Lisa.
With
It starts with
stickers.
the sugar in the baby food. They get you hooked on sugar, and then you go
Oh,
into the fast food, and they get you hooked
yeah.
on salt and fat. It's all
Oh man.
chemically done with
And
chemists
then
and scientists.
and then they go to credit cards and they
Yes,
attack our young adults with
yes,
credit
yes.
cards and
Yeah,
they
we
get
talk about
themselves
that.
so
Yeah,
screwed
we
with credit
we
card debt.
talk about that because once you
Ooh,
graduate, the first thing they get in the mail is an application for a credit card, and we talk about how to control spending. We talk about APR. We talk about how you shouldn't, if they give you $5,000, you shouldn't put more than you can pay at the end of the month or a certain amount because then your credit is negatively affected with how much you have on the card. We talk about auto loans. We talk about
yeah.
banking. We talk about how to balance a checkbook.
And
Things
when you
they're
get
actually going to need.
well, and even nowadays, they look and see if you went bankrupt if you're going for a job
Yes.
application. They actually
Well,
look at your financial behavior
and
now
they look at
for
your
a career.
social media. We talk about not posting things that are never going to go away because your
Hmm.
human resources department, they check you out before you can get a
Oh,
job. So you don't be sending
Tracy
these
must love
pics.
that. I know
Yeah.
Tracy's an amazing publicist, by the way, everyone, Ivan's
Yes.
wife, and that's
She's an
how
amazing person, period. Yeah.
she is, and that's how
She
we met.
scares me,
Ivan,
Lisa. She scares me
well, she's
in
got
a good way.
integrity. Listen, let me
She,
tell you,
she's,
she's got
yeah,
integrity, and that
yeah,
integrity, she stands up, and that's
she does.
and she's a little lady, but don't mess with Tracy. She stands up for
No,
integrity.
don't mess with her. No, no.
Yeah, I mean this in a good way, and apparently she can bake too. So, that I love it. I love it. Well, Ivan, I'm going back to wanting my French onion soup now. I feel like, could you imagine if one of those big fast food companies said, "Come on down and get your French onion soup." Like, could
Right.
like French onion soup out of a can? It's no, it's not. It's not. It's something
Oh my
that to
God.
me, if we can we do a French onion soup show? I want to master it, maybe for fall or something. The mastering
Sure.
of French onion soup,
It's
like the
easy. It just
mastering
takes
of
time.
soups. Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's
Oh, I
something
love soups.
beautiful.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, we'll
soups.
do that for fall. We're getting into spring and summer now.
Bet.
We're
You
excited.
got
Yeah.
it.
Well, thank you so much. And listen, have a
You're
wonderful
welcome.
birthday. Thanks for always
Oh,
doing
thank
a
you.
good rant as well and being naughty as
Thanks
well.
for
So
having me.
we hope you get your corned beef sandwich and more for your birthday.
Okay.
So have a good one,
Okay.
Chef Ivan.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Chef Ivan's recipe, as always, is in the show notes. So thank you all for joining us here on Big Blend Radio. Thanks for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's Eat, Drink, and Be Merry show. Keep up with our podcasts at bigblendradio.com and our magazines at bigblendmagazines.com.